Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me this stormy evening on the Wirral. It's a really stormy night here. We are going to be talking about the closing of the Spartanlifecoach project as it was in just a moment. But first, always offering value, always offering you guidance as best as I can. I'm going to offer you 8 tips moving forward from here on out. 8 tips. This is what I've learned, and I want to share it with you, and I want you to take it forward with you into the next year. 8 rules, 8 pieces of guidance, 8 principles to live by. Okay? Number 1, be rigorously honest with yourself. Follow a discipline of honesty, at least with yourself. Do not lie to yourself. It's going to be very tempting to tell yourself lies about who you are, what you want, and what you're all about. Try and be honest with yourself as much as you possibly can. Number 2, please recondition your mind to the best of your abilities to focus on what you do want. Look to your future. Focus on your future. Look at what you look with your eyes, with your mind, with your conscious awareness into the future at the things you do want. Don't waste time ruminating over the past. Yes, we must do our therapy. Yes, we must look at the past. But you should be spending as much time focusing on what you do want in your future, at least as much time focusing on what you do want on your future as you spend looking at your past and on the ways in which things went wrong. Number 3, now more than ever, learn the skill of unplugging. Learn to sit in a room on your own in silence. Everything that stops you from doing that, every impulse, every drive, every desire that stops you from doing that is making you sicker and it's making you weaker. I say this with love. You are not sick. You are not weak. But bad habits, a low impulse control, makes us sicker than we would have been and weaker than we would have been. Unplug, disconnect, turn off the TV, put down your phone, disconnect from all of this stuff, all of this content. It's all infected with dogma and ideology, and it infects our brains and our conscious awareness. Please learn to be comfortable with unplugging. Take rests from the hysterical circus of content. I just got a text from my service provider. They think, because I'm by the sea, that I'm abroad. They think that I've just come in from Ireland. Bless them. They're confused. Number 4, get healthy. Start taking your health very, very seriously now. You will need courage and you will need strength. And that courage and that strength will be physical, psychological, emotional, and spiritual. You cannot be mentally and spiritually courageous if you have a weak, sick body. It's very, very difficult. Take your health seriously. Get healthy. If you're overweight, drop that weight. If you have bad eating habits, fix them. If you drink too much, stop. If you're addicted to prescription drugs, find a way out of that addiction. It will be hard, of course. Nobody wants to do these things. Of course it's not easy. You're not stupid, you're an intelligent adult. But if you're falling prey to these indulgences, find a way to stop them. Get healthy, get strong, and remember to practice being courageous. Number 5, make it a priority to connect with other humans in real life in your local area. You must get face to face with other people and foster your connections and your contacts with them. Become friends with your neighbours, become friendly with the people around you, form communities, contribute, share, and be a good community member. Offer the people around you the gift of your time and your attention, and think about where your time and attention might be leaking out right now. Number 6, please make it a priority to process your trauma, to overcome your hurts, and to integrate your shadow. If you need to get into therapy again and go to a counsellor, then get into therapy and go to a counsellor. Don't leave this part of the room in your mind cluttered. Deal with it. Deal with it now. It's time. Number 7, in all things in your life right now, seek to grow up. Seek to behave, speak, think, and act as an adult. Take responsibility and take control of your life. If you're not in control of it, somebody else will be. So grow up and take responsibility. Finally, number 8, be disciplined. Choose what you want. Control your appetites and your impulses, and work daily towards your goals. Make it happen. If you want something to happen, commit daily to doing things with consistency over time that make the thing you want happen. These are the things I've learned. These are the 8 pieces of advice, the 8 tips I have for you moving forward. And these will serve you well, I hope. Now, to the issue of the day, what's happening with the Spartanlifecoach project. It is the end of 2021. The Spartanlifecoach project is now coming to what I feel is a natural and comfortable close. I started this project 9 years ago, in 2012. The name Spartanlifecoach is deliberately hyperbolic and ridiculous because it was a spin-off from another project that I had running called Street Fight Secrets, which also is a silly hyperbolic name. But people like silliness, they like spectacles, and they like hyperbole. It started off as a bit of a joke, semi-ironic, and then became something a bit more, serious as time went on. Originally, it was designed to help martial arts instructors, pro fighters, martial arts students, some law enforcement guys, bodyguards, and the various people I was working with in the security industry and in martial arts who really struggled to assert themselves. And the whole purpose was to try and explore why people who were operating, some of them at very, very high levels in their various fields and industries, but couldn't cope with saying no to the people closest to them. I feel like that's mission accomplished. As the project went on, there was mission creep. It's called mission creep. So the original mission crept over into other things. I wanted to talk about narcissism and the roots of narcissism as a way of understanding psychopathic predatory behavior. As a natural extension from self-protection physically, it became self-protection emotionally. And so I studied and spoke about narcissism and all of the cluster B personality disorders. Naturally, that involved an exploration of childhood trauma. In 2014, my good friend Amanda, who was interviewed on the channel a number of times, introduced me in an interview. You can watch me live in real time, learning about Pete Walker, CPTSD, and the fight, fawn, flight, and freeze responses. That really took my interest, and I ran with that ball for a few years as well. Which leads me sort of to where I am today. In the last 3 years, I have been writing a book. It took way longer than it should have done, way longer than I expected, about this whole journey and this whole experience, and really was trying to sum up everything that I wanted to say about narcissism and codependency at an individual and sometimes even at a cultural or a national level. The book is complete. It's going into its final editorial revisions, and now we're talking about headshots and designs for book covers. So that book will be out imminently. It will be out soon. It's December, it's the end of the year. Various things have happened to me in my personal life. Some of them I've shared on the channel that caused me to go back and review. I've had some great interviews with Sam Vaknin on the channel, which made me realize other things about narcissistic abuse, childhood trauma, and abusive relationships in general. It's been fantastic. It's been great. Happy to talk about CPTSD, narcissism, recovery from both, self-assertiveness, porous ego boundaries, codependency, and all the rest of it. I was happy to do that for years. The book is about the overcoming of a particular type of codependency. It's not completely different from the way everybody else talks about codependency, probably most closely aligned with peer melody, and I'm calling it echo codependency. And I think that's going to be the title of the book. Echo, as most of you will know, was the counterpart, she was the female counterpart to Narcissus in the myth of Narcissus. She could only repeat back that which other people said. It was a curse placed upon her by a jealous and angry goddess. So, these are the topics that were covered. I wanted to talk about them. I have talked about them. I feel I've given it my all. I don't really feel like I have that much more to say that couldn't be said better by other people. For example, Sam Vaknin, the only fresh, meaningful, and non-stolen, frankly, information that's coming out on the subject is coming from Sam. I could just echo what Sam says. I probably won't. I would rather just interview him, which I might do more of in the future. I really enjoy interviewing Sam. Another part of the mission with Spartanlifecoach, as the mission creep continued into 2015, 2016, was that I wanted to change the way people thought about mental health. It was an extremely grandiose objective. But for a number of people, I've done that. For a number of mental health practitioners, I've done that. For a very large number of mental health clients, I've done that. I've had an impact, and it's great. It's been positive. It's been gratifying to see. I'm regularly contacted by counselors, psychotherapists, educators, social workers, people in different fields, and they're asking to use my work, or they're asking whether I would help them to develop concepts and everything else, which is fantastic. Really happy with that. Extremely grateful for the opportunity. It's not that codependency, narcissism, CPTSD aren't a part of who I am anymore, or I'm healed, or anything like that. It's more that I can't continue to have this subject being the primal focus of my life and the primal focus of what I'm thinking about every day. You will have seen in my more recent, in the interview on trigonometry and in the recent seminars that I've uploaded, I have 3 more to upload from Belgrade, where I will explain more, where I have it's a bit tougher than I thought it was going to be. I have a bit of a strange relationship with psychology, and a bit of a strange relationship with psychotherapy as well. I'm very, very, very concerned with the way that the world has become psychologized. I don't think I'd ever turn my back completely on psychology, but I am not clear at this point exactly, when you measure out the effect it has on culture and society in general, versus the good or bad it can do for the individual. I'm not really convinced at this point that it's largely a force for good. I don't at this point believe it's a particularly good way of viewing people. I've been saying that for a while, at least since the last time I was in these apartments, which is when my ACL was healing, which is like the end of last summer, so over a year, where I was saying it's probably better to get people in long-term, to get people into philosophy than psychology and psychotherapy. Just a footnote on that. I am in psychotherapy at the moment. I receive psychotherapy weekly. And I digress. I do need to digress a little bit at this point. I think when it comes to psychotherapy and counseling, if there was a graph with an XY axis, the more desperate and in pain you are at that moment in time, the more effective and relevant the psychotherapy and the counseling is. If you're in immediate aftermath trauma, speaking to somebody about it can be, if they're good, a real balm to the soul. It's very, very soothing, and it really, really helps. As you progress, because there isn't a structure, it's very yin, it's very past looking, it's very inward looking, it's very what's in the unconscious, how do you feel, what are your perceptions, and how do you conceptualize reality? Fine, great, good, fantastic. But I don't think it's really a full methodology for a human being. We need yang, we need structure, we need to move forward, we need to look to the future as well. So on that XY axis of usefulness, as your trauma, you could draw it the other way, as your trauma goes down, I think the immediate usefulness of psychotherapy alone goes down. You really then need to start expanding out into philosophy. I think psychology can be saved by being reintegrated back into philosophy, which is where it first began. It would be a lot more honest. I'm not going to go on about that on this video. So, number one, the Spartanlifecoach was always supposed to be a sideline project. It was an ironic name. Nobody can teach you. Nobody can coach you how to live life. Least of all me. The Spartans, I'm not even that historically literate about the Spartans. I don't really care about them, to be quite honest with you. At the time that it came out, it was 4 years after the 300 movie was out. You know, in the martial arts scene, every kettlebell workout you did or CrossFit WOD was called Spartan this or Spartan that. It was a brazen name. So I'm not a life coach. I know way more about, if we're talking warrior culture, samurai warrior culture, than I do about Spartan culture. But I didn't want to call it the Samurai Life Coach because I'm white. I thought that would be kind of ridiculous. So it's a project that outgrew itself, I guess, and probably went further than it went to. I'm happy that it did. I'm very happy. I'm proud of the work that's been done here. It's great. I can't continue to focus primarily on a psychologizing way of viewing the world. To psychologize means something quite specific. It means that we use the paradigms of psychology that are appropriate somewhat in a therapeutic context, and then try and apply them to all human interactions. And it becomes a guiding set of coordinates for viewing the world. There are multiple worlds. That's a different video we're going to do for viewing the worlds. And where what you see as sickness in culture now, a lot of it you can lay at the feet of psychologization and the psychologists who push that. So those are two reasons why I want to end this project. It was never meant to be this big. It was never meant to go on this long. Spartanlifecoach was a silly name anyway. We all love it now. I love it. You guys love it. You know it's ironic. You know it's silly. We'll always cherish that. That's cool. That's absolutely fine. But it is a historical artifact. It's a historical artifact now. Secondly, worried about the effect of psychology, worried about psychologizing the world, making people sicker, making people think that they're sick when they're really not. And thirdly, to share some of my own psychotherapeutic revelations with you. This is something that was figured out about a year ago. I'm talking to mainly women between the ages of 30 and 45 who are mainly either are or feel they are the victims of psychopathic, narcissistic, philandering men. All permutations of my mother from when I was a child. So some psychologists that I've worked with have pointed out that this is starting to look a bit like a rescue fantasy. And when we engage in repetition compulsion, we're essentially manifesting shadow. We're basically shadow activated. We're now in the realms of parts of ourselves that are not adult, are not aware, they're not even awake, but they're blindly seeking to resolve issues some issues even from a pre-verbal state. And that is not healthy. So I'm teaching people to overcome narcissistic abuse and codependency. Meanwhile, I'm fostering a codependent relationship with this project. That is not good leadership. That is not leading by example. I never signed up to do this to lead people. Never. But because of the way the world has gone and because of the way life has gone and the way this project has gone, I think that people need leadership. And it doesn't matter what I think about that. That is the way it is. So if you're going to speak in this role about this subject in this way, I think you have to be a leader, and you can't be a hypocrite. You can't be manifesting codependency and engaging in repetition compulsion from childhood trauma. Like, if I can rescue these women or this individual woman, it would have the effect of rescuing my mother, and that would rescue me. It's not going to happen. And it's a bit sick. And I don't think it's a very honest way of carrying on. And I have to be honest with you, please don't take this the wrong way, don't be hurt by it. The thought of ending this project fills me with elation. It makes me feel really good. It makes me feel really, really happy, because engaging in repetition compulsion is always a trap. It's always a manifestation of being trapped in the past. And I don't want to be trapped in the past. I don't think I can untrap you from the past whilst I'm trapped in the past. I don't really think. There are fat boxing coaches. There are fat BJJ instructors. Yes, we all know that. But I don't think this kind of work can be done like that. If I'm trapped in the past, I can't really help you move forward either. I have to lead by example. I have to go first. And so this is me going first. This is me going first. What does that mean practically? We now know what it means philosophically. I've given you the 3 reasons why I have to do this. The courses that have existed to date will now be permanently withdrawn. They will be available until the 20th of December. They're available in one big pack. If you want different bits and pieces from the different areas, because you haven't collected everything yet, you can message Jane at helpdesk@spartanlifecoach.info and she'll sort it out for you. I'll just say to her, if people want a discount or they want this or they want that, just the answer is just going to be yes. Just like whatever. That's just, if people want the things, they can have the things. Otherwise, you can buy it as one large package. Everything that I've said up until this point will be permanently withdrawn and they will be available to buy until the 20th of December. Once that time has passed, do not ask me for any of that stuff ever again. It goes in the bin. It goes in the bin of history. It's done. Any asking for it after the 20th of December, we won't even answer the email, and I will instruct the people working for me to just simply ignore emails like that. I'm being very clear with you here. It's over. All of that stuff is done. I have new projects and new material that I'll be releasing next year. I'm not saying I'll never speak about CPTSD, I'll never speak about narcissism and codependency again. I'm sure I will. It just won't be my primary focus. If I choose to interview somebody about narcissism, it'll be because I'm in the mood to do that. But Spartan Life Coach itself, the website will actually be closing down. So the courses will disappear and the website itself will be closing down. There will be a new website in the new year with a new name and a new title. And we are going to be running a 30-day challenge throughout January. So if you want to get access to me, because I'll be helping with the challenge, I'll be on the forum every day, plus I'll be running 2 lives a week exclusively for the people there, where you can ask me questions. You can even jump on the video and talk to me directly if you want to. That will be done throughout January. And we will be talking overcoming narcissistic abuse and overcoming codependency in one challenge. It's going to be a pretty tough 30 days. I would say people would need to be able to commit probably around 45 minutes to an hour every day for 30 days non-stop. As we usually do, we'll give people 60 days total to complete the challenge because people fall behind and so on. And then throughout 2022, there will be new things coming out. There are new projects coming up on different subjects. It's time for me to start talking about other stuff, because if I don't, I'll be miserable and I'll go mad. You know, I like that quote from the Gospel of Thomas. If what is within you is brought out of you, what is within you will save you. If what is within you is left within you, then what is left within you will ultimately destroy you. There are other things I have to start talking about now. There are other things we should all be focusing on now. I think the time for licking wounds and gazing into the past is long past over. There are real, imminent, urgent problems that we all need to turn our attention to rapidly. And so that will become the predominant focus. I'm going to take questions from you in the chat in a moment. But first, I did give people the opportunity to ask questions today. I got one from Visceral Gravitas. I'll go through these questions now. These are in the community section. Oh, if you want to join the 30-day challenge, by the way, you're only going to be able to do that through my mailing list or through my Telegram. The mailing list and the Telegram is in the more information bar below. It's going to be run exclusively to people who are, let's say, actively following this material, because where people came in last time who were more just checking things out and kind of like a little bit touristy, it didn't work very well. It really didn't work very well. So we won't be doing that again. You need to be signed up to my Telegram or to my mailing list to get on the 30-day challenge in January. Okay, from Visceral Gravitas. What did you learn from the recent live seminars? Any surprises, positive or negative, from audience interaction? Did you see any new unmet needs, common misconceptions, or false assumptions? Yes. So in Serbia, the last seminar was on a Sunday, and I'd done Monday, Tuesday, Sunday. Before that, I'd done Friday in Liverpool, and before that, I'd done a Thursday in London, which was the same day as the trigonometry interview. That was a long day. So when you see my London seminar, I'd actually thought the trigonometry interview was on Friday. And this is a sign of me being burnt out. I just completely confused. One of the most important interview I've ever done to date. And I forgot the date it was happening on. Thankfully, Konstantin saw the funny side of it. And I managed to get in on time, so it was fine. All of the seminars were good. And I learned everything in all of the seminars from interacting with people. And I was grateful to be able to do it, and I was grateful to see how well received the seminars were as well, in ways that you will hear me say when I'm delivering the seminar. There's a real sea change. Like, people's ideas about the world have drastically changed in the last few years under the pressures that we're all facing. The most interesting one was the last seminar. Before the last seminar, when I was thinking about closing this project and doing this video, which I knew I was going to do 2 weeks ago in Serbia, by the end of the year, I have to say this is it. I was like trying to conceptualize how this relates to my recovery from codependency and my recovery from narcissistic abuse. And I was thinking about being codependent with an audience, codependent with my YouTube followers, codependent with my client base. And I was like, you know, as codependents, we really overgive. We really try and give too much to people. Why don't you try and deliver the seminar today with the attitude of, look, this is what needs to be done if you want this to work. We were talking about rehabilitating modern love in an anti-intimacy world was the subject of the last seminar. And instead of cutting up people's food for them, chewing it, and then spitting it into their mouths so it would be easier for them to consume, I basically went in with the attitude of, look, this is it. We're either going to do this or not. You can individually choose to do this, or you can not, take it or leave it. which was a far less codependent way of presenting it. And it was actually way easier for me to deliver the material, much less stressful. I wasn't particularly worried about what people's reactions were, because they're adults, because different people are going to process information in different ways, because that's not my job. It's not my responsibility. Seminars are not therapy sessions. A seminar isn't personal coaching. It's a seminar. And if you've paid a tenner for a 2-hour seminar, they were good seminars. I'm not going to sit here and be falsely modest. Like, they're good. I've listened to them back. They're good seminars. They're interesting seminars. And that was helpful for me. And I hope that you can all take something from that. It's not your job to moderate the way in which people perceive you and process who you are and process your data. It's your job only to show up and tell the truth, and to be sincere, and to be authentic, and to be honest. That's where your responsibility begins and ends. Other people's responses to you, and other people, like, don't try and assist them in their digestion process. Don't try and assist them in their cognition process. It's not your job. They deal with it. They don't deal with it. They have a hysterical reaction to it. Whatever. That's a them problem. It's not a you problem. And it was I really enjoyed that seminar, because I could deliver with much more freedom and much more energy, and I could be more alive and in the moment, because I wasn't trying to control people's reactions to everything. It's a pronounced fawn response. It's a super pronounced fawning response. But think about everything that way. Think about in your own life, how you interact with your family, how you interact with your friends, how you interact with people in a shop. You shouldn't be trying to control their response to you. You should show up and tell the truth. You should show up and be direct, and that's it. Okay. I see a few more questions here. We didn't have any questions in the community today. Usually I get 50 in 10 hours. Today I got 3, and they were all from visceral gravitas. Now, I'm not saying that YouTube is throttling down my material. I'm not saying that. It's just a little strange, that's all. Caroline asks, will the videos still be available, please? Those, I'm still going through them. The YouTube videos will still be available. The courses will not. The courses will terminate on the 20th of December. Really useful, and I'm learning a lot from them. Glad to hear it. Also, what subjects will you be moving on to? You'll see when I move on to them. The Real Love asks, do you think enough people will be firm against those things that are being forced? Or is that too late and we are headed into loss of freedom or slavery? I don't know. I'm easy either way. It'll probably be some of both. It's never that clear, right? But I'm ready to accept either way what happens. These things are like the tides. They're like storms that blow in. It's a force of nature. There are some things we can control, and we have volition, and some things we don't. If the general mass of humanity fails the IQ test, then they'll drag us all down with them. But it was ever thus. This is no different than any other time in human history in that regard. So, but you see resistance, and you see a change. You see a change in the way people are thinking about the subject and talking about the subject. So, I don't know. I just sort of just train myself to accept it. Like, whatever is going to happen is going to happen. And I'm not going to lose any sleep over it, because terrible things always happen in the world. The world's a terrible place. It's always awful. If that's your baseline, it's always awful, it's always terrible, then you'll be all right. Dino asks, how can you forget or stop loving a borderline or stop getting the emotional flashbacks? I mean, it was real for me. I recently saw a picture of her and my heart just breaks. I mean, I already know logically and pragmatically that it's effed, but I still have a hard time. If you get a chance, you should really get the Break the Trauma Bond course before it disappears on the 20th of December. I reviewed that course today because one of the things I would like to do, I better be careful saying this publicly, what I would like to do at some point, don't hold me to this because I don't know when it's going to happen, is actually have one course that sums up everything. It will not be ready by February or March if I even do this, but one course that sums up everything. And one of the unique things that I have when I teach recovery from relationships with cluster Bs is the Break the Trauma Bond course, which has, as far as I know, completely unique techniques with a completely unique paradigm for healing the traumatic bond of relationships with cluster B disordered people. And I reviewed it today. I'm going through a review of loads of my old stuff. I'm doing a whole clear out at the moment. And I was like, damn, this is good. This is really good stuff. It's really, really good. So what I would say to you, Dino, is, and I just heard this today and I'd forgotten most of it because I made it 2 years ago or 3 years ago. What you think is happening right now is not what is happening. Your conceptualization of where your pain is coming from and why you're in pain is wrong. In the most, and I'm not saying you're wrong or you're an idiot. Absolutely not. I've been through this multiple times. But what your brain, your body, your hormonal system, your central nervous system is solipsistically telling you is the problem, is not the problem. And when you come back, when you get that, you will start to heal much, much faster. Much, much faster. Richard, says Cindy, you like philosophy. Do I? Can you explain why? Oh, God. It looks at. I didn't read this, but I side-eyed it, and it looks like an A-level philosophy student question. Give me strength, oh God. Can you explain? Why would you do this to me? Are you trying to get me to write a paper for you? Is this something you were asked in your philosophy degree? Can you explain why good and evil are seen as two sides of the same coin? Are they? I didn't know that. I don't accept that. Versus two separate deities. Like good is God, spelled a bit funny, and evil is evil, the devil, spelled a bit funny. Two deities, I like it. Or entities, God and the devil. I like it. I see where we're going. I feel it's important to pick one or the other view. How about you? How about you? Is it God or the devil? I don't know. Do I think it's important? No. It doesn't mean it isn't important. It could be objectively important, and I'm just wrong. It could be important to you. It could be an essential part of your path to understand why is good and evil seen as two sides of the same coin. That's not part of my reality. I don't know anybody who sees good and evil as two sides of the same coin. Versus two separate deities or entities. Interesting. So the dichotomy you've created is either you can see good and evil as two sides of the same coin that's just perpetually flipping, good, evil, good, evil, good, evil, good, evil, or as two deities, two entities, two embodiments, God and the devil. And we should pick one or the other. In your view, it should either be the flipping coin or the deity of good and the deity of evil. I don't really see it that way. I don't linger on issues of good and evil, except when I'm practicing morality for the sake of being able to think more clearly, where I force myself to explore what I think of it as being good. And then I use critical thinking. I critique my own thinking. I'm like, well, why do you think that's good? What is evil? This is evil. Well, why is that evil? Explain why it's evil. Is it an objective, data-driven thing that says it's evil? If so, how do we measure that? How do we measure that which is evil? So on and so forth. That's interesting to me. But it's only interesting as a sparring exercise. I would only ever advocate people doing that as a way of sharpening their thinking and sharpening their own moral code, particularly in the face of potentially narcissistic, abusive relationships. If you have no sense of good and no sense of evil, then you have no ability to assess, judge, and condemn. And you'd be like, you're not supposed to judge, you're not supposed to condemn. Yes, because we've been drinking the morally relativistic piss soup of psychoanalysts and radical leftists for decades. We think that there's something virtuous about moral relativism. There isn't. There is nothing virtuous about moral absolutism either. Moral relativism and moral absolutism are neither good nor evil, nor should they be seen as such. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm sure you can hear what I'm feeling. How to Start an Argument in a Cafe by Richard Grannon. Would you get back with an ex-girlfriend you love very much, even though she always seems to ask for a few quid and has said on occasion they like a bit of pity? I don't know. I find it difficult to submit to the structure of the question, sir. I do apologise. Would I? I don't know. There's not enough here. In this scenario, I love her very much, and she asks me for money, and she said on occasion that she likes a bit of pity. I have no idea. I'm terribly sorry. I don't know. Will you still do TC? I will, but I've discussed it with Pierre, and it probably won't be quite as regular as we were doing. I enjoy doing TC. I enjoy doing Tentacle Quest 1 with Pierre. It probably won't be weekly, but yeah, it will still be ongoing. Von der Loo says, please, will you consider stand-up comedy? Listen, I'm hilarious no matter what. I don't need to do stand-up comedy. I can do psychoanalytic theory, put on a slightly Scouse accent, slip into a Jordan Peterson expression, switch to a Zizek impression, rolling in the aisles. I'm totes hilar. Ganth says, why be here now? Amazing question. What depth? What depth? What a towering intellect. I'm joking. Why be here now is a perfectly valid question. Okay, that's it for those questions there. I'll take questions from the live chat. Katja Geifschneider. Okay. What will be the topic goal you will work towards at the next 30-day challenge? The January 30-day challenge will be to simultaneously overcome the effects of narcissistic abuse and to completely eradicate your codependency for life. We'll see. We'll do as much as we can in 30 days on narcissistic abuse and codependency. Can you help me become an emotionally literate black belt? Yeah, you really need to put in the reps. Like daily, for hours. I remember with Aikido, we used to, I was like a kid, I was like 15. We used to practice with the bokken, which is a replica katana. It's a replica of a Japanese sword, but it's made of wood. And it's typically a little bit heavier than a real katana. And the purpose of it is to strengthen your wrists and strengthen your forearms and strengthen your back. Alhamdulillah. And I asked, how often should I be working with the katana? Because they would either cut straight down or they would step and cut. And they would do like a block and cut. It's heavy cardio, man. This was before the kettlebell craze. It's pretty heavy cardio. And my instructor said 1,000 cuts a day. And I did that precisely 0 times because it would have killed me to death. More reps. It's a skill. And repetition is the mother of skill. Commit to it. Do it every day. If you need to do it every day, do it every day. Do it more. Get better at it. Become more skillful at it. Be quicker at at defining your emotional states to a nuance based on the feedback you're receiving somatically. Become an expert in your own somatic feedback and your own emotional state. And you will become a much more emotionally mature human being with much more resilience and courage and fortitude. And you'll be a much clearer thinker because you'll be able to think beyond the traps of the emotional flashbacks. That would be my advice. I'm so glad to hear your plans. It sounds great. It does. It does sound great. I'm very looking forward to it. Patsy Valentine says, I love your accent. This is an accent. Well, who knows what this is. I'm from the Wirral, which is like a softer Scouse accent, but I spend a lot of time away. So people I meet usually think I sound Australian. Where will the book be sold? Amazon. Quick question. Will the courses that have already been purchased be available to access after December 20th? If you purchase the course, it's available for life. It's available for life. As long as I'm alive, which I plan on remaining so for a while, they'll be available. And at the moment, it's all kept on a hard drive anyway, in a remote location. So as long as, if I do die, as long as the bill is paid. Yeah. Tolly Archer's here. She says, will you be doing more businessy stuff? I might. I will. It is. Yes. RMPC asks, is the atomization we're experiencing now at its peak, or are we going turbo atomized in the next few years? Most people I know now are acting like the Sims. There is a chance that a good number of the population will be willingly getting into virtual reality systems that look like pods that will be delivered to people's houses in the not too distant future. It's the natural progression of everything. Sounds like a Black Mirror episode. There were pods like that. Well, obviously there's pods in the film The Matrix, but also in the Netflix TV series that didn't do very well, but I liked, written by Jonah Hill, called Maniac. And one of the characters has already chose to pod up, I think because he was depressed or heartbroken or something, but he just lived inside of a pod. So that's imminent. Richard, when is your birthday? I can't remember. The ancient pharaohs never told their true names, nor their dates of birth, for fear that spells would be cast upon them. Ian Dmitrievich, why do you think Sam Vaknin often says that emotional flashbacks don't exist? I don't need to have an opinion. Sam has made his position on this eminently clear. If you listen to his videos, he'll tell you. So you don't need to ask Richard Grannon what his opinion is on why Sam Vaknin thinks that emotional flashbacks don't exist. Sam Vaknin has spoken at length. So you can go and get that information straight from the horse's mouth. Are you joining OnlyFans? Would I join OnlyFans? You know, I would if there was a lot of money in it. And people would be happy to pay just to see like my elbow. Then sure. Anything else though, no. Okay, if you give me a question, I will answer it, make it a question mark. Oh yeah, Richard, does this mean you're no longer doing the discussion with Sam Vaknin on individuation? No, as I just said, I'll still do interviews with Sam. You might not have been here for that. And if the mood takes me, I'll still do videos on narcissism. If I think I have anything new to say or relevant to say, I'll do a video on narcissism. It would be more likely at this point that I would interview Sam because he's the only one who seems to have anything new to say on the subject. If anybody else is saying anything, a ton of people, whenever I mention Sam Vaknin, like, we hate him, we can't stand him. Well, I'm terribly sorry to hear that, my love. Would you care to mention in the comments somebody else on YouTube who's providing new insight on narcissism? Mention one. I'll wait. Davy Dude says, sell your feet to pick. Yeah, if I got a lot of money for it. I mean, I have a moral code, but it can be bought out as long as I don't have to do anything extreme. So if it was like £50,000 a month for daily pictures of my feet, sure. Okay, these are coming in quite through fast. Leslie Diaz says, Richard, what kind of therapy are you in? There's tons of people in asking questions. What kind of therapy are you in? This one is transactional analysis. And I was working with somebody doing IFS, internal family systems, and another guy I worked with was doing CBT. How is it different this time than previous times? It isn't, in essence, it isn't. Did you get the jab? Oh, no. Will there be a screening process for the 30-day challenge to ensure people are ready for it? No, that's codependency. I'm not screening people. You're all adults. You're all adults. You'll be told on a sign-up page, it's only for over 21s. I'm not even going to go through the whole rigmarole of saying that it doesn't represent psychiatric help, doesn't replace therapy, or like, no, I don't need to say that. I'm not legally required to say that. It's fucking group work on the internet. Get a grip. Not you, Alyssa Dean. I'm saying generally people. Like, I don't need to protect people. And it's not even that expensive. And if you don't like it, we'll just give you a refund. It's not like you're giving blood or DNA samples or something. It's just not that big of a deal. So no, there'll be no screening process. What I would say is here, and I won't be saying it on the sign-up page, if you're easily stressed out or you have a major psychiatric condition, don't do it. But then there's a ton of things you shouldn't be doing if you're easily stressed out or you have a major psychiatric condition. There's a ton of things you just can't do until it's resolved, if it can be resolved. So no, I'm not. I did in the past, and I regret it now because it's pure safetyism. It's not my job to make you safe from a group project that requires you draw mind maps, listen to videos and audios, and talk in a forum every day. If you don't feel up to that, don't do it. Take your money and do something else with it. Real simple. From now on, I'm not daddy. I'm not mummy. You know, you're all just going to have to take care of your own stuff. And if you don't like it, it's no problem. We give you a refund. So yes, Alyssa, sorry, that was a mini rant, not at you. There will not be a screening process. We will just tell people, you know, we'll tell people what it is. And if they choose to engage in it, then caveat emptor. Have you read Iron John by Robert Bly? I listened to the audiobook a little bit when I was in Prague earlier this year. I think I got like 3 hours through the audiobook. It was interesting. Sweets Parade says everyone has a price. That's true. Even me. Elbow pictures, foot pictures. If it was 50 grand a month, I'd definitely do that. And then I just wouldn't do any other work. Ellen Caroline says, do you believe love wins? I don't understand the question. Sorry. Maria Dent says, what do you think of H.H. Tudor? I think you mean H.G. Tudor. I don't know. Never had the time to review the material properly. I listened to one video once and it was good. He said he said something that rhymed. He was talking about narcissistic abuse as slicing salami. And he said, slice it very thin. And he said, as soon as somebody starts encroaching on your boundaries, that's where you should set a boundary with them. And he said, start small to avoid the fall. And I was like, well, that rhymes. It's easy to remember. And it's a pretty good, solid piece of advice. But I just haven't had the time. There's tons of material I should have looked at. And I just didn't get the chance. Okay. Okay, we're coming to the end now. King Alfred asks, are you really an atheist, or do you secretly still believe in a God? Well, I'm an atheist in a certain sense. No, I don't believe in a God. I see no evidence for a God, no necessity for a God. So I am, like you say, some people are amoral. I'm atheistic, but I'm not anti-theistic. So some people who call themselves atheists, who stomp around like obnoxious arseholes, claiming that religion is a load of tosh and we should throw it all away and everything that goes with it, are wrong. They're just wrong. They're just objectively, factually, actually wrong. And I really despise all of that, because to me it's a kind of thuggery. It's an anti-historical barbarianism. That's our culture. That's humans, all humans. I don't care what your skin color is. That's ours, all of it, from everywhere. It's human culture. You don't burn that down. You don't spit on thousands of years of beliefs. But nor do you, in the modern age, submit to barbarism in the name of religion. So what would I say? I'm atheistic, but I'm not anti-theistic, like many atheists claim to be. I'm against barbarianism. I don't like thuggery. I don't like violence, emotional or physical. I don't like it. I don't like tyranny. I don't like people being pushed around and told what to do. I don't like kids' parts being tampered with unnecessarily in completely unnecessary and traumatic medical procedures. But nor do I like pompous, smug tossers writing off, 5,000 years worth of study as though it's just, Neanderthals writing with sticks on the floor in their own poo-poo. I mean, it's thuggish. It's thuggish. It's posturing. It's a kind of intellect. It became a kind of intellectual peacockery. And I know why. I mean, there was really charismatic. Still love Christopher Hitchens. And he did it well. He did it with wit. He did it with humor. He did it with passion. He did it with rage. I think he was wrong, but I really liked the way he delivered his speeches. And then I think a whole generation of Christopher Hitchens fanboys started copying that strutting style. But there was only ever one Christopher Hitchens, and there can only ever be one Christopher Hitchens. You can't copy him. And so there's a lot of weak photocopies in the aftermath. So there's a lot of, I don't know, what are they called, disparagingly, edgelords online who will pop off and talk nonsense about religion. But it's a real mistake. It's a real mistake to be belligerent and ignorant about religion. That doesn't mean we shouldn't assert boundaries with it. There are practices that are advocated within, but you shouldn't be allowed to commit crimes in a modern secular society in the name of religion. For example, you shouldn't hold separate courts within a country that is essentially a modern secular society that supersede or go against the rulings of a modern court. There should be no honor killings. There should be no genital mutilation. There should be a lot of things that really need to change. But I'm not against the idea that simple ideas. So some people would say, well, I'm mystic or I'm spiritual because I talk about God and I talk about religion, but I talk about it in ways that I see as being critical and fundamental and non-dogmatic. I don't know why I'm here. I'm not an intellectual, but I try to use my brain. It's very hard for me to believe that this existence, with all of its complexity, with the Spice Girls and Diet Coca-Cola and Netflix and my socks, fell into existence as a coincidence, which is like a 1 in a trillion chance of hitting the jackpot, and then doesn't just effing well disintegrate. It keeps manifesting. My socks stay on my feet. The Spice Girls still try and do comebacks, Coca-Cola releases some horrid satanic piss flavored thing every new year. Why? Why doesn't it all just disintegrate? So we're winning the jackpot in the lottery over and over and over again, every nanosecond. Wow. Okay, that's the kind of thing that would make you say, certainly humans are not as smart as they think they are. So what I would say I'm against is putting humans first. And I'm not for human hubris and narcissism and pride. And that's where the good elements of religion, which would say, well, you didn't make this. This isn't your world. You're visiting here. It's a gift. Don't be an arsehole. As every major religion, all of them say, don't be an arsehole. It's not but that's the mystic end of the religion. So you have the mystical, raw, experiential, subjective, awe-driven, reverence-driven end of religion. And then you have dogma, which is like, don't play with your winky because the elf man will bite your toe off, and all this stuff to try and control simpletons, to try and coerce peasants into paying taxes and giving up their daughters to be shagged by the king, or whatever you're trying to do with your people, your peasant class. A lot of evil is done in the name of religion. We acknowledge that. That's known. It is known, Khaleesi, but that's not religion's fault. That's man's fault. It's So I'm not an atheist in that sense. But if you ask me if I naively believe in an entity that is all powerful, I find the idea laughable. I absolutely don't believe in an all powerful entity. I don't need an all powerful entity. Of course there isn't. Where would it be? Where does it live? In the heavens? Where's the heavens? Up. Well, up is down. Once you leave Earth, up is down, left is right. There is no up, down, left and right. That's all relative to Earth. So where is he? Why is it he? Does he have a massive dingus that float? I'm just like, come on. What? That's dumb. That's dumb. The stuff that is at the level of mysticism and metaphor, where I like the stuff that says we don't know. Question mark. My dogma is silence. Silence. Total silence. That's Richard's dogma. My dogma is question mark. Just one big question mark. Save your stories. Save your poetry. Save your dogma. Save your cultural practices. Don't tell me how to live. Question mark. Silence. Concan says, I don't know is a legitimate answer. One we should all learn and come back to. I will also miss discussions about socks. Odette says, do you feel comfortable accepting praise? Worryingly comfortable. I'd sort of crave. I would say not accept, crave. Praise is good. I really like adulation and worship. I mean, just blind, slave-like worship is my favorite. I should probably stop soon. Let's take a couple more questions. Can you please answer this question? No. Will you leave Fortress mental health content up? No, I'll just take it down. Why? Spite. Just spitefully. Yes, I'll leave it up. All the videos that are on this channel, I will leave up. The Fortress Mental Health Protection System, which if you haven't seen it yet, is a free course available on YouTube for coping with and recovery from CPTSD. Absolutely, that will be left up. What the hell? Megan asks, Richard Grannon, question, are you only quitting production of any future material or actually removing your content and evidence of all channels? Can we still access old videos with channels? You'll need to watch this video from the beginning to get an answer to that question. Sugar Tits. Nice handle. I like that. Good name. Thanks for making me say that. Are you familiar with astrotheology? I've watched a couple of seminars by an Australian chap on astrotheology. Yeah. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay. How do you get rid of belly fat? Says Charles Kaplan. I think you've come onto the wrong live. The way that I did it, and it's probably a bit extreme for most people, but I did something called 75 hard, and then I didn't let myself yo-yo after the 75 hard. Look up 75 hard. You don't have to do it, but you should follow some of the core principles from it for a period of time, and it needs to be really 60 days is a minimum. 90 days would be better. 120 days would be better. It should be your life should just change, and it's habit. It's habit. So, yeah. Do you have any surprises for 2022 that you haven't mentioned at all? Yes, I do, but I can't talk about them because then by talking about them, they would cease to be surprises. Okay. Right, I'm going to just go through the 8 tips that I started with one more time, and then we'll end with that. Number 1, I told you to please, in 2022, be rigorously honest with yourself. And that would extend to please tell other people the truth as well. Number 2, focus on what you do want, not on what you don't want. Be very, very careful what your conscious mind is lingering on and what it's spending its attention on. Don't waste time ruminating. If you need to do therapy, go do therapy. Don't ruminate. Don't linger. Don't, try and suck juice from the bone. Don't enjoy the suffering. Don't malinger and bathe in it. Number 3, unplug. Take rests from the hysterical circus of content. Be comfortable sitting in a room on your own. Number 4, get healthy. You will need courage and strength, physically and spiritually. Strengthen your body, strengthen your mind. Start training, start dieting. Do it now. Get healthy. You're going to need it. Number 5, connect with other humans in real life, in your local area. Build communities, build friendships, spend time and attention with the people around you. It will help. Number 6, now is the time for you to process your trauma, get that therapy, get that counseling, and to integrate your shadow. Number 7, in all things, seek to grow up, be emotionally mature and adult, take responsibility and take control of your life. Number 8, seek to be disciplined. Choose what you want, control your appetites and your impulses, and work daily towards your goals. You must make it happen. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for offering me and the Spartan Life Coach project your time and your attention. It is now drawing to a close. I will still be here. The courses will be withdrawn, as I said, on the 20th of December. If you want to get them before the 20th of December, you need to go to the website now. After the 20th, they will not be available to buy. All the videos on YouTube will still be up. If you bought the courses, they will remain available to you for life. And if you want to join us for the 30-day challenge in January, you must join my mailing list or my Telegram group by clicking the links in the more information bar below. Thank you for your time and for your attention, and I look forward to speaking to you all very soon. Cheers.